It's amazing how much you miss lips. Hers were streamstone smooth and cool, one kiss always heated mine. Teeth don't burn. I feel them split, porcelain plates pulled up from the sea. No one appreciates cracking. These flames make quick heroes, but I already feel myself ashing into the wind, sweeping into the gutters with the cigarettes and food wrappers. The air tastes of singed feathers and coffee grounds, but I'm forgetting what lamb tastes like. Perhaps I'm too impulsive. It's gone dark surprisingly fast. The air dances its penitence, fat and warm from my fuel offering. I see sparks from smoldering coals behind my eyes. Tomorrow I'll be at sea. Tomorrow I'll gather my shards of pottery. Tomorrow I'll be a drop of water to the thirsty. Tomorrow I'll be a scorch mark on this alley. Now is when the scene slows and the music starts. I'm ready to lie forward before these fire trucks, surrounded by speed bumps. Never forget, I gave up my lips for this. Another poem out of that sequence is called Beneath McNamara's Window. And it refers to a moment in the 1960s where a guy named Norman Morrison, he was a Quaker, set himself on fire outside of the Pentagon in protest of the Vietnam War, just beneath the window of the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara. So these are, as I imagine, his thoughts. It's called Beneath McNamara's Window. Maybe tomorrow will break its skull on the doorframe of heaven. The sun will forget everything about today. These times will surely fill with spots. The clouds will migrate like wild geese. The years will autumn away until these elemental crystals, painted like mine dust, are spored on winds with no place to land. Forever is a myth, like peace and love and hope and trust and pain and forgetting. Abstractions written in sidewalk chalk, made from bits of ground up bone. Tomorrow all will bloom and I will pollinate. Tomorrow this volcanic town will wake to a layer of ash. Tomorrow I will be a sprinkling of spent fuel. Tomorrow the children will dance as the shadows creep away toward the east. In the 1980s, there was a time in Northern Ireland that was called the Troubles. It was a time where there was big conflict between the Protestants and the Catholics in Northern Ireland. And basically there were penal laws set up against the Catholics living in Northern Ireland where you weren't allowed to travel in large groups, you weren't allowed to carry any firearms, you weren't allowed to do various things. And a young man by the name of Bobby Sands was out driving with 4 of his companions, and Bobby was a member of the IRA, which was deemed a terrorist group fighting for liberation. And Bobby and his 4 friends were pulled over one night, and between the 5 of them, they had a handgun in the back of the car. And for carrying that handgun, Bobby and his 4 friends were sentenced to 30 years in prison. And so they went to Long Kesh prison, where they were kept as common prisoners, and Bobby was protesting against this, wanted to be considered political prisoners. And so he began a hunger strike. Began to refuse to eat. And he went on hunger strike for 50-some days until he died. But he began a journal as he began his hunger strike, and the very first words in the journal are, "I am standing today on the threshold of another trembling world. May God have mercy on my soul." And so this poem is inspired by that, and it's called Thresholds. Today I'll try and tremble the timbre of God's mercy. Today I stand not through the door, but in its whale-mouthed jaws. Behind me the table is full of water. bills and last night's dishes float across its surface on shoals tugged by the overhead lamp. Abalone shell to the east, the sky a soap dish. Through the doorway I can glimpse disappearing stars, their glass-water clarity fading to pale forgetfulness. Where did they go? What did Bobby think about there in Long Kesh as the world began to quiver? He could see his ribs glowing on the dermal walls of caves, about to be erased by the rising waters of an underground river. But could he smell the water? Behind me the water rises, spilling over the table, carrying documents over its falls and onto the floor. I walk through the door and lay down on this bed, this whale fluke floating among kelp and discarded pajamas. Alone I lay my head in the shallows and sleep.